This is Mr. Tonsoni with Supply 2 Podcast. Quick review, we had the law of supply. As price goes up, supply goes up. We talked about completing supply schedules and supply curves, and basic idea that supply is the producer's side, where businesses figure out how much of their product they're willing to produce at the prices under consideration. The big key thing here is when we talk price, those are prices offered to our consumers. When we look at cost, that is an expense of doing business on the business side. So today, in the second part of supply, we're going to look at changes in supply. What would make our company produce more of our product at every single price that we're offering? There are two things listed on the board here. The lower cost of business, meaning expenses are lower. Nothing to do with the price. Our fixed prices are going to stay the same. They will always stay the same. But our cost of doing business is getting smaller, lower. So we would increase supply at every price if the cost were to get lower. If for some reason the cost would increase at the starred note up here, then supply would decrease at every price. The second thing that changes supply is technology. If we improve technology, improve the way we produce our product, we're likely to supply more. If we have a breakdown or we're lagging in some technology, we're likely to see a change in a negative direction. So we have up here an example of ABC widgets in 1 month. Notice that our highest price is our highest quantity, and our lowest price is our lowest quantity. That's something from last week. And if the cost of making one widget is $1.50, what happens if the cost dropped 50 cents? The material for widgets, labor for widgets is cheaper. If it drops 50 cents, we will change production by 200. So on the lower side over here is an example of what happens. We move from 1 to 2, appropriate label, lower cost supply. Notice that the prices 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 stay the same, but our cost of doing business goes from $1.50 to $1. So that change in cost will lead to an increase in production from supply curve number 1 on the left to supply curve number 2 on the right. Again, the prices did not change. What does this look like when we graph? The top graph shows an increase in supply. We move from graph S to graph S1. It is a positive shift in supply. We are moving to the right. That's the arrows are showing the movement from S to S1. That is an example of the lower cost of doing business. Once again, prices will stay the same. The bottom curve shows the opposite effect. Moving from S to S1 in this example is movement to the left. This is a negative change in supply. And this happens a lot when expenses are increased or you have an increased cost of doing business. We shift to a second supply curve. A review of the 4 factors of production which greatly affect what our expenses and our costs: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Businesses make decisions about production all the time and the supply side, and we need to make 2 types of decisions in supply: short run and long run. Short run decision making is when you change one of the 4 factors. You open up a second store, or maybe you hire 4 workers, or maybe you buy another piece of equipment. Long run, we change 3 or 4 factors, all of them. We buy a new location, a new store, open a new store, buy a piece of equipment, and hire 4 workers. That's a long-run decision versus a short-run decision. It has nothing really to do with a calendar feature. To sum up supply 2, we're talking about what makes supply change at every price. Key reminder is to never change the prices we're considering to offer for our widgets or our product, but the cost of doing business, whether it goes up or down, will shift our supply either positively or negatively, and also how to make short-run and long-run decisions. Here ends Supply 2 podcast.